It's yet another player review day for the Locked On Coyotes podcast. We got 3 more players to get to on our depth player reviews. In today's episode, we got Barrett Hayden, Loui Eriksson, and Vladislav Kolyachonok, all on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlak right beside me on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen every day. We are 100% free and available wherever you get your shows. I also want to wish everybody a happy Pride Month. It is officially the 1st of June, so it is Pride Month all throughout the month, and we will have our updated logo for the Locked On Coyotes podcast on Twitter and our social media pages with the Pride background with our logo. I just want to remind everyone that here on Locked On Coyotes, we are an ever so 100% inclusive show. I mean, you shouldn't surprise if you're watching on YouTube. You can see what's behind me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something to take notice. And with the start of June, yeah, happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everyone. But we got a great episode for you coming up on today's show. We got our more player reviews, Carl. We had a pretty good discussion yesterday when we talked about, some good call-ups and some good players. On this one, we got also a couple, call-ups and some, unexpected players who were added over the offseason. We can get to that. But first, I guess, so we have Barrett Hayden, Loui Eriksson, and Vladislav Kolyachonok. Let's start with Barrett Hayden, Carl, because Barrett Hayden was up and down. I think he spent most of the time with Arizona. Of course, he played 60 games with Arizona, only 4 games in Tucson this last year. But like the last couple years, he kind of was like floating up and down and up and down. But this is the first time he got, a lot of games in for Arizona. He played 60 games with the Coyotes this year.
Yeah, and I think he definitely was better as the season progressed. Had a bit of a slow start, finished with 10 goals and 14 assists, which is respectable. I think that he could potentially be a 20-goal scorer in the next couple years. Something we talked about with the Keller episode and the Schmaltz episode. It's kind of is Hayton a future center for those two? Maybe. I'm not sure. He definitely wasn't that this year, but he made a lot of good steps, especially for a younger player. For a first-round pick, he is progressing wonderfully.
Absolutely, and I think it goes even more so because there were high expectations for him last year. And last year, he did not meet those expectations. He was with Arizona for a while, and he got sent down to Tucson. He's like, hey, guess what? You're not developing as fast as we wanted to, so you're going to go down to Tucson. And even then, he didn't score and didn't show what the kind of Hayton that we all thought was capable of until much later in the year. By that point, the Roadrunner season was pretty much done. They kind of were completely collapsed by that point in the year. But he only finally showed that what he's capable of late in the year, and this year he finally got that shot. Finally showed that he is capable of being a top 6 center for the Arizona Coyotes. He still, again, like you said, he's still got more room to grow. But the difference is from this year to last, Carl, is day and night.
Yeah, I feel like Hayton was always a player where, looking at where he was in the OHL, you kind of wanted him to play in the AHL, almost right away, but you can't do that. Last year, like you said, he underperformed with the Coyotes and the Roadrunners. I think everyone kind of underperformed with the Roadrunners last year.
Mhm.
It should also be noted,
Except for Michael Clark.
COVID-19, except for some select few individuals. But last year was also a big year that was affected by COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that really has hampered his development. But he is still only 21 years old. Another player who's going to be turning, 22 very soon. We talked yesterday about, I forget who had a June birthday, but Barrett Hayden, June 9th. So he's going to be 1 year older very soon. I think he's developed well. I think he has a few more years before we see what he can do. But maybe like a second line center doesn't seem outside the realm of possibilities for him.
No, I don't think so. It's definitely not outside the realm of possibility. And in fact, I think that like during the course of the next couple of years of the rebuild, like that's what his role is going to be. He's going to be around that level, unless he does something this off season to vastly improve and overtake as the number one C. Will that happen? Probably not, because I think there will be a lot to do and a lot to take care of. But I think he's approaching slowly to that point.
Well, as we said in the Travis Boyd episode, Travis Boyd is probably his best competition. And Travis Boyd has a lot of advantages. He has like chemistry with Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. He has the age. But I think Barrett Hayton has the raw skill. So as of right now and for like the foreseeable like next season, like Barrett Hayton could overtake the number one spot. Whether or not that's going to happen remains to be seen. But if he has like a big off season, if he builds, if he improves, it'll be interesting to see what he can do.
It will be interesting. And if he follows this development curve, he will get there soon. I firmly believe if he follows the development curve, he will get there soon. Because again, like I said, he significantly improved on last year. Again, last year was tough because of because like you said, COVID-19 and stuff like that. So like it's hard to make that true comparison. But he got the minutes and he showed what he was capable of. You see, look his stats: 24 points in 60 games, including 10 goals, 14 assists, and -8. So definitely not bad. Definitely top 6 worthy. That's for sure. For the Coyotes, at least.
Yeah, for the Coyotes, like in the foreseeable future, because he definitely kind of like kicked things up at the end. What do you grade him?
I'm going to be giving Barrett Hayton a B-.
Same page. B- is my score as well. I think he did good. I think he has a lot to do. But I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I liked what I saw too, and I think, and again, like we both said, that we'll be excited to see how he grows in just the next couple of years. He has, I believe, he has one more. No,
Nope.
he is a pending free agent. Pending.
Restricted free agent, no arbitration rights, I believe. So he is going to get re-signed. Not sure what the deal is going to be. Probably pretty cheap.
You think qualifying offer at $1 million?
I mean, I think $1 million seems like just a general good deal for him. I believe that would be over the qualifying offer threshold, but like somewhere close to like $1 million and change for a year.
His cap hit last year was $894, so just under $900,000.
Yeah. I think he's going to be kind of close to $1 million. Unless, Bill Armstrong decides to do something crazy. We don't really know what his strategy is for a player like Hayton, who you expect to be with the team for a long time. Like, Chayka would give him term. like for like $3 million for 7 years, and then 3 years from now we'd be like Barrett Hayden, insane deal. I don't think that's going to happen, but it'll be interesting to see.
No. Yeah, Bill Armstrong and John Shaka, very, very different in how they deal their contracts.
Yeah, very different.
No more analytics, Carl. Or supposed analytics.
Yeah, you should definitely put finger quotes over analytics with John
because
Shaka.
because the analytics crowd doesn't even claim John Shaka.
Nope.
But anyway, so we're on the same page. We both have him have Barrett Hayton at a B minus, and we're excited to see him grow. And just curious what his next contract will be. We still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We still got 2 more players to get to on today's episode. We've got Loui, Eriksson, and Vladislav Kolyachonok in just a little bit. But first, I want to tell you guys about our next partner at Rock Auto. Again, it is summer. It is getting hot. You want to be able to get all your repairs done before your car breaks down in the immense, just surface of the sun Arizona heat. If you're wanting to do that, get your parts at rockauto.com because you can easily save a lot of money, 50% or more, on parts at rockauto.com. If family's business or do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, they compare to those prices to easily to a dealership or chain store. And again, it just gets sent straight to your house. Go ahead and check it out yourself. Go to rockauto.com and see all the parts available for your car or truck. And while you're there, be sure to put Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. We have an important favor to ask you guys. We put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about the Locked On Podcast. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes a survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, once again, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thanks for your help. And I don't know about you, Carl, but if I'm a listener, I'm taking that survey. That's a nice deal.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta love that chance to win the gift card. Personally, just for me, I like surveys. I like taking them, especially when it comes to podcasts, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I feel like you want to know what I think.
And again, it truly does help us. It gives us the idea of again what you like and don't like, and it can help us shape our show in the future. Anyways, let's get to continued on this episode of player reviews. Loui Eriksson coming up next. An interesting one, Carl, because something we didn't expect because we were talking about we talked about last offseason, the players acquired in the trade with Vancouver that sent Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman-Larsson over to Vancouver, with Arizona getting the 9th overall pick, and 3 of their players, Loui Eriksson was one of them. We were just like, oh man, $12 million fourth line, this is gonna suck. But Eriksson was the only one who actually did stuff out of those. Okay, we'll get to the other 2 later, what they did, but Eriksson did most.
I may disagree with you on that, but we will get to that when we talk about some of the other players. Loui Eriksson, I feel like, added more fan memes than contributed to play on the ice.
He wasn't terrible. We knew what these players were.
Yeah.
We knew what we were getting. We knew we were getting overplayed, no longer great players, and so obviously didn't play none of them played to their contract, of course, in the focus of Loui Eriksson. Considering he was put at what, third, a third line wing or something like that,
Sometimes fourth,
Sometimes fourth.
depending on how you define the fourth line for the Coyotes.
Yeah.
Played 73 games, finished with 3 goals, 16 assists. So didn't really contribute too much. I don't know. I didn't expect much from Erickson. We didn't get much, so that's kind of where I'm at with the guy. Definitely a player who I don't see coming back to the Coyotes.
No.
Probably not in the NHL next season.
No,
I don't know
this was
how
his
you feel
last.
about
This
that.
was his last chance, and I feel like this was the case with most of the players that came over from Vancouver, and especially with with Eriksson. For all of them, it was their last chance, and I don't see um, just don't see a future at all. Like it was the Coyotes acquired these players for the sole purpose of clearing cap for Vancouver so they can take, two of the Coyotes' top players.
Yeah.
And so the Coyotes can get the 9th overall pick. That was it. There was no other motive behind taking these players. And I think that's the only, and it made sense because there was only 1 year left. So it's like, okay, no, wipe the books clean now.
Yeah, and like I will say, Anton Roussel and Jay Beagle are the other 2 players. I don't necessarily see them having a bright future in the NHL beyond this year either. So I'm not saying that Eriksson's the standout. I'm going to give him a C- on the year. I don't think he was good, but he's also what I expected to be. Like I was tempted to maybe do like a D, but I don't want the Eriksson fans to kill me. I think he definitely added like a veteran presence. Like he was a stabilizing force in the lineup, but he didn't do much.
I'm also giving him a C- mainly for that veteran presence.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that's bringing him up. And I think that's the only reason why I kind of thought of him a little bit higher initially, just because, to me, veteran presence is huge. I think it definitely helps grow some of the young guys, even if he doesn't do anything on the ice truly.
Yeah. That's like there's the locker room, there's practice, there's a lot of areas where a player like Loui Eriksson could have an impact on the team. And there are areas where we don't really have access to it because it's for the team. It's for like that individual connection with another player. So we don't know, but like speaking just about his performance on the ice, I think we both think that he could have done more potentially, or we expected him to do more. Like if he physically could not have done more, it would not surprise me. But going into the season, we're like, maybe he could prove it. He could have like that one kind of like burnout season to like show like everything he has, and I don't really think we have that.
No. Plus, again, these players are on the wrong side of 30, and 2 of them, including Eriksson, on the wrong side of 35. He's 36 years old, which is the twilight of your NHL career. Very few players make it past that.
As someone who's getting very close to the wrong side of 35, I could feel that impending doom approaching. But yeah, no. Loui Eriksson has had a hell of a career. And it finished with the Coyotes in him kind of like on the outs, potentially. Who knows? Maybe someone's going to sign him. Maybe Seattle wants veteran leadership. We don't know. But, if that's really like what the end of his career was, like kudos to him. He went out showing that he can, play still. Like he wasn't as big of a liability on the ice as he could have been. But
there were worse players on the ice who were massive liabilities. Oh, we'll get to that, later in our list of reviews. But yeah, it could have been worse.
Yeah, definitely could have been worse.
Anyways, though, that is going to be it for Eriksson. We still got more to get to. We're going to get to Vladislav Kolyachonok in just a little bit, but first, a quick word from Carl.
So I have a message from our partners at Bet Online. who continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports information. You can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, the Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even the next season of the NFL and the futures. Or if you're a hockey fan and you're betting on the playoffs, it's the absolute place to go. Like the Battle of Alberta is over, the Battle of Florida is over, the conference finals are happening soon. You're going to want to go someplace for all of your sports betting. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. What I want you to do is head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So before we get to Vladislav Kolyachonok, Carl, because it is conference finals week, I ask you real quick, and this is going to take 30 seconds. Stanley Cup finalists, who do you got? Who's coming out of each series?
That is a tough one because like the West is very difficult. I kind of want to say Colorado, and it's Tampa Bay and New York, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna go Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. Okay. I got Colorado.
Okay.
And the Rangers.
I don't have that much faith in the Rangers. They put away the Carolina Hurricanes, but the Lightning beat the Panthers. So
yeah, but that's a President's Trophy is a curse. But that's a whole other thing. We still got to get to our last player review. That's all I'll say about that. Anyways,
yeah, we're talking about a player who is connected to what, the Florida Panthers organization.
Yep, that was a prospect from the Florida Panthers organization. Played at the Syracuse Crunch last year. Vladislav Kolyachonok was acquired over this last offseason in the trade that brought Anton Strahman to the Arizona Coyotes.
A player I always forget was part of that trade. For some reason, I think the Coyotes drafted him. Not the case. I always have to remind myself that he was traded for.
Yep, exactly. Especially because I think at the beginning of the year we had two Vladislavs. One ended up going back to Europe. And Koya Chonuk stuck around. He played 30. So he played half the season in Arizona, the other half in Tucson. 3 points in his time with Arizona, 14 points in his time with Tucson. So obviously he was a lot more quiet on the in terms of point sheet, but he wasn't a offensive defenseman. He's a stay-at-home defenseman. That was kind of his purpose of coming along.
Yeah, and I think he served that role well enough. I think he definitely still has a lot to grow, to improve.
Absolutely.
Especially for that stay-home defenseman role. That is such a difficult role to actually play. He's not there yet. I don't think he's going to be there next season, but very, very interesting player. I liked what he did with his opportunity.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I don't think he expected to get called up that fast either and play half a year with the Coyotes. He probably expected, okay, I'm going to be in Tucson for a while, and develop there. But of course, injuries upon injuries, just as I mentioned earlier this week, just kind of created a hole. It's all right, we need you, and he again filled the stay-at-home defenseman role pretty well. Ended up posting with Arizona in the 32 games a 0 plus minus. So again, for the Coyotes, as posting a plus is good, but posting a 0, posting a minus, I think depending on how bad it is. And again, it's an arbitrary statistic to base it off of, but a 0 is not bad.
Yeah, I think Clayton Keller had a plus 3.
Yeah.
And Nick Schmaltz very close. Like being a positive or even a 0 on a team that gave up so many goals as the Coyotes. Like it's a very small thing. It's not a stat you want to put a lot of weight into,
No.
but it kind of points to something like that he wasn't a massive defensive liability, which you would kind of expect from like a younger defenseman.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, like as the conversation that we've had multiple times over over the course of this podcast is defensemen take longer to develop, and the fact that Koya Chonuk performed as he did at 21 years old, like you can't really complain too much.
Yeah. He's got one more year left on his deal that has a cap hit of $789,167. He's actually going to be paid $775,000 with a performance bonus. Good for him. I don't think we have details about that one yet, but pretty good pay. I think he may spend some time in the Tucson Roadrunners though, so that pay is probably going to be less. Minor salary 70,000. So but depending on how things go, like we said last episode, we're not really sure how the Coyotes are going to be handling their defense next year. So maybe he gets paid more than that 70 grand, but it remains to be seen who they sign.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing, as much as I'm giving Koya Chonuk a lot of praise. I have a hard time seeing him spend more time in Arizona, with the Coyotes next year than he did this year.
Yeah.
He's going to be a heavy amount in Tucson, and that's a good thing. We've talked about this in the last in the preseason call. You don't want um, to put too much of a weight on these young players and let them develop in the American Hockey League. That's why it's there. And especially if the Coyotes or the Roadrunners are going to be pretty heavy on a lot of prospects next year because a lot of them are going to be returning, a lot of them are going to be doing whatever. Like those players are future Coyotes, like going to be a part of the future team that's emerging from a rebuild. So you want to make sure that they are ready before they have to jump.
Yep. What do you grade him?
I am giving Koya Chonuk, all things considered, a C.
C. I'm giving him a C plus. I think he did well in his role. I like the defensive defenseman, like just as a archetype. I don't think the Coyotes have one right now. So I think that's going to be a much needed role for him in the future. I like the steps he's taken. I hope to see more.
I hope to see more too. And what's going to be fun is, should he stay in Tucson, I've got another year covering Tucson under my belt coming up. So I'm excited to see him up close.
Yeah, you'll be able to see his development. I really want like the Coyotes to like sign a few players so we at least like can start to get an idea of what the blue line's going to look like, and then we can know where players like Kolyachonok are going to be. Like I said, he's got another year, so there's no rush. But I'm not sure kind of what he's going to be doing.
You gotta remember that there is a lot of hope the fact that Connor Timmins is actually healthy.
Yeah, and good. Like he came in with like a lot of positive buzz. Got injured early on. Hopefully that won't happen again. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, absolutely. But we're again, I think all of us, like again, all these players we mentioned, are roughly in the same path, right? I think similar grades on these ones, I think. And again, as we talked about it, roughly all within the range of debt players, which you can't complain too much. And two of these players have a future with Arizona, as we mentioned, and then one is in the twilight of his NHL career, and we might not see back again.
Yeah. Or maybe back in like a front office, a coaching role.
True. You can never say no to that. Anyways, we're out of time of this episode of Locked On Coyotes. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe. If you have yet to already, we are available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Instagram at LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leano. That's Robyn with the Y _Leano. Carl Pavlock is Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. I hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.